On today's video, I'm going to go through a really simple guide on how you can start investing in Australia, and the great thing is it's a guide designed for beginners. I'm really excited to share this video with you today, so don't forget to leave a like on it, and as always, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into the video. Hello everyone, I am Ethan Rushock, and on today's video I'll be going through 5 simple steps on how you can start investing in Australia. So if you've never actually invested but always thought about doing it, what I've done here is gone through the basics of what you need to do before you even start investing, all the way through to record keeping for investing and everything in between. So I really hope it's a basic guide, and it's really aimed at those that have been thinking about investing but never actually got around to starting on it. So just before I get into the first step, the share market on average between 1989 and 2019 in Australia returned an average return of 9.4%. So you can see that over a long time and over a long period of time that the share market has consistently returned good returns. Now this doesn't mean that it's always going to do that, and that's the big thing to keep in mind with this video, is past performance is not always an indicator of future performance, so you really need to consider that. But as you can see, from a return like that, that is much greater than what you would have received in a bank account and a savings account that over that time definitely hasn't paid an average rate like that. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is investing right for you? So this is a really key point, that before you even start investing, this is what you need to work out. Investing is not suited for everyone, or it's not suited for everyone at all the time. So you need to consider your own financial position and your risk profile when you decide is investing right for you. So what you're considering here is, do you have spare money in the first place? So if your income is only just covering your expenses, then it might not be the right time to invest. Or if you have really high interest loans, so for instance, if you're paying loans on a credit card or a personal loan, you could be paying between 10 and 20% interest on that. Well, it might be better to putting your spare money towards that than trying to chase a return of that value through the share market. So for instance, if your personal loan is 12% and you're expecting your shares to return maybe 7%, then that's not logical. You might as well put those extra funds into that loan. Once you've paid off that loan, then you can look at investing. The other thing that not many people talk about, but share investing might not be for you if you don't like taking risks, and that's perfectly okay. The share market is an up and down thing, especially as we've seen in 2020 with the coronavirus. Markets can move very quickly, and they're not always moving very quickly upwards. They can drop very quickly. So there were some horrible days on the market earlier this year, especially when things started to first shut down. And if that's going to provide a lot of stress to you, then investing might not be for you. The other thing to consider, if say you've got something like a problem gambling addiction, or you've got addictions in general, then maybe again the share market might not be suited to you, because it can be a form of gambling if you're just picking stocks and putting $500 here and $500 there and just gambling on hoping it will go up the next day and trying to chase short-term gains. So you've really got to consider what's your current financial position and what's your risk profile before you start investing. The other thing with your financial position is, how well set up are you for an emergency right now? Do you have some emergency funds, etc., that you can access in case a car blows up and you need to replace something, or you need to pay an excess on an insurance, or you've got expenses for your kids, etc. If you've got those emergency funds set up, then you might have that spare money to invest. But if you haven't got any security behind you, again, you might need to consider, is investing right for you? Okay, so the second thing is, you've decided that yes, you're ready to invest and it suits your risk profile and your current financial position. And now it's deciding what type of investor you'll be. I feel like this is important to make this decision now before you get into choosing a broker, etc. Because if you have an idea of what type of investments you're going to make, how regularly you're going to make them, etc., you can pick a broker that suits you best. So when I talk about what type of investor you want to be, the main things is, are you looking for more an active or passive investment strategy? So an active investment strategy is going to be someone that's wanting to buy and sell on a more regular basis. And normally an active investment strategy will involve you picking your own stocks that you buy. A passive investment strategy may be where you're investing a regular amount at a regular interval, and you're investing more so in the broad market rather than individual stocks. So there's 2 ways to do this. You could do it through an ETF or a limited investment company, or you could try and design your portfolio to kind of cover the market, but that's normally not going to be the best option, especially for a beginner. So the reason for this is that as you're buying those stocks, as we'll get into, you're paying brokerage. And when you're paying brokerage, this is a fee every time. So if you're trying to match a broad index, so you're trying to match the Australian ASX 200 and you're buying all those stocks yourselves, it's normally going to cost you a lot more than if you just buy a ETF that tracks that. Okay, so I've just mentioned a few terms and I want to cover them before we go any further in the video. So brokerage is a fee you pay when you buy your shares, and this is paid to a stockbroker, which I'll go through in more in the next segment. An ETF is an exchange traded fund, and this is something that will be like I said, a global 100, or it might be healthcare or technology. So what it is, it's a way for you to buy into a fund that is set up to try and track the return of that particular segment. So if you're buying into a global 100 ETF, you're buying into something that's pure aim is to track the return of the global 100 stocks. So what this will mean, if they go up, your ETF should go up, and if they go down, your ETF should go down. An LIC, which is a limited investment company, is similar in concept, but they are more actively managed. So there's a few on the Australian Stock Exchange, and what they are, you're buying into a company like you would with shares, and that company holds underlying assets such as shares in a range of different companies. They might own property, etc. And you're buying into that company, so you'll track their returns. So it depends what their portfolio is made up of how that share normally performs. It is a bit more complex than this. There's more to it, but that's going to be a whole nother video, which eventually I'll get into making. But I just want to cover those few basics that I've mentioned just so you don't get lost too quick. So when you're deciding what you're going to do, what type of investor you're going to be, you want to think about, are you in it for the short term or the long term? Now, if you're in it for the short term, you really need to think about, is share investing right for you? Because it is normally a long-term market. But there's definitely plays you can make if you're looking for more of a short-term gain. So if you're in for the long term, like I said, those ETFs, those LICs are probably going to be your best option because they track the market performance. It's a lot less risky as you're spreading, you're diversifying your investment across a range of different companies, not just one company. And therefore, it's a bit of a set and forget. You invest and you know that you should get a return of whatever the market does. If you're looking for more short-term gains, you might be more picking stocks. So this is going to be more active because you're going to require more research. A lot of people think this is what the only option is. Now, while it's not the only option, it still definitely is a option. The other great thing is you can do a combination of both. You can make some picks in particular stocks, and then you can make some picks that are those ETFs or LICs that are going to track the market. So this might get you the bit of best of both worlds as such. This is actually a strategy I used when I first started investing, is I purchased a few different stocks that I thought this will be a good learning experience of researching what stocks to buy, as well as I'm now putting money into some ETFs as well, just to spread out my funds and get that diversification I'm aiming for. So the biggest thing is decide what type of investor you're going to be based on what your financial position is and what your risk profile is. I know I keep coming back to those two things, but they're the most important things in these early steps when you're deciding, are you going to invest, and therefore where you're going to invest. All right, so the third segment is deciding on a broker. And this is really important that you've done that research beforehand, because now you can pick a broker that suits you best. So the simplest way to start is just start researching yourself. If you're with one of the main four banks, so your NAB, your CBA, your ANZ, or your Westpac, they've all got their own brokerage systems. So start by there, going which bank are you with? If you're with one of those four, have a look at what theirs offers. It just gets you a starting point. It doesn't mean you have to go with them, but you can see what features they've got. So the main thing you're comparing here is features and cost. So the features is just going to depend on what you're aiming to achieve. For a beginner, most of the brokers that are online, they're going to have the basic features you want. But if you're looking for something in particular, then you need to have a look at what features they've got, because some of them don't have the same as what another company has. The other area you're looking at is fees. So for instance, CommSec, which is probably the biggest broker in Australia, their fees start at $10 for trades under $1,000, and they slowly rise from there. So this is a pretty good entry-level fee if you compare it to some of the other big banks which are a bit higher, but it definitely isn't the lowest on the market. And then as your trades increase with them, the brokerage does increase. So the brokerage increases the cost of your initial investment. So if you're buying shares for $1,000 and you're paying $10 brokerage, you've really bought $1,000 of shares, but it costs you $1,010. So until your shares gain that first $10, you're still always going to be behind on that investment. So especially if you're making a lot of trades, this is something you really need to be considering of because it will add up over time. Now there are other online options. SelfWealth is pretty popular now in Australia. So their fees are flat $9.50. So this is obviously pretty attractive if you're going to be putting in investments above $1,000 because you're locking in that cheaper brokerage fee. There's even some new players on the market. So as you can see, these ones are now offering even lower brokerage, but at the moment, some of these don't come with the same features. So like I've spoke about before, if there's certain things that you know you need when you're buying shares, then have a look into which brokers offer them. But if you're just looking for the lowest price, which you might be when you're a beginner, then some of these might actually be really good options for you. The other thing is to consider whether you're looking at just Australian investments or whether you're looking for international investments. So again, CommSec, they do offer an international one. So there are other options out there such as Stake, and they actually offer a $0 brokerage. Now, people are gonna go, well, how can they do that? So they do make money off you, they just make it on the foreign exchange rates. So again, that's a bit more complex and I'm not gonna go into this video, but the actual brokerage fee will be $0. So with Stake, you can invest in the US market. So say you want to invest in a company like Netflix or Tesla or Facebook, this will allow you to do that. So while I'm on that point, the reason why people like to invest in, say, the US markets when they don't live there is they're, again, looking for diversification and a lot more options. If you think Australia is a relatively small country in the world's economy, whereas America, if you have a look at that, there are so many of the big companies are based there. So it does give you more options, but again, you need to consider it with your research, is that best suited for you? All right, so there's some of the main options you've got with brokers. There's plenty out there. Do your research, have a look at what you're aiming to achieve with features, and if you're not too fussed on features, then you might as well look at what the actual fees will be. So there are some other micro investing options out there now. There's Raise, there's Spaceship, CommSec now have one called CommSec Pocket, and these all vary in what they actually do, but they're a good way to just do some micro investing on a really small scale. Now you really need to have a look at these. There's lots of reviews online as to whether they're really that great, but they may suit what you're aiming for in the short term. So for example, Raise, which used to be called Acorns, used to have a roundup feature. So if you spent $4.50 on a coffee, it would round up that extra difference of the 50 cents and it would actually invest these. So you need to have a look into whether the fee's actually going to make the investment worthwhile, etc. CommSec Pocket is a flat $2 fee, I believe, up to $1,000, and it has a limited amount of ETFs. But the downside is it is a limited amount of ETFs. So if they're not the ones you're looking to buy, unfortunately, you can't do it through that app. I've actually used CommSec Pocket and found the experience quite good. I thought the range of ETFs it had were actually pretty good. I invested in the global one and I thought that was actually a pretty good ETF for what it was. All right, so you've decided you're ready to invest. You've decided what type of investor you want to be. You've picked your broker and now it's time to buy your first investment. So this is the exciting part. You've done all that hard work and now you actually get to make that first investment. So once you've decided what that investment is going to be, now you need to actually go and hit buy on your broker. So every broker will be different with this, but the main things that you're going to want to know is the first thing it's going to ask you is what's the name of the investment you're making. So normally it'll ask you for the investment code. So for instance, Telstra is TLS. Then you put that in, so whatever it's going to be, even an ETF will have a code. So that's the first thing you need to know. The second thing you've got to decide is, are you going to enter a quantity or a value? Now, not all share brokers will have both of these options, but most of the major ones will. So if you go as a quantity, you're saying, I want to buy 20 shares, for instance, and then what will happen is that you will only ever buy exactly 20 shares of that stock. The other option is you do a value. So you want to buy $1,000 worth of shares. Now, if those shares are at about $99, for instance, you'll get 10 of them and it just won't use that last few dollars of your trade. So it will buy up until your value. So again, check with your broker, see how that works, but normally they're the two options you'll have. And then the next term that is normally the most confusing term for someone starting out is it will say at limit or at market. So an at limit purchase is when you set a price that you want to purchase those shares for. So say you set a price of $3. You won't buy them, that order won't be executed until the price falls to that price. So this can be great if you go, oh yeah, I want to get this share, but I don't want to pay any more than this price for it. So when the market might be at $3.50 and you only want to pay $3, when the market hits $3, your order will be executed. The risk for this is if you go, oh, I think your share's going to keep climbing and it's at $3.50 now and I put an order in for $3.25, but it just keeps going up, your order will never be executed. And then the other option is an at market. So what this will do, this will place based on, like we said previously, you pick your stock, you pick your quantity limit, or you pick your value limit, and then it will just place it at whatever the market price is at the time. So if you're investing in a broad ETF, you just want to do regular investments once a month, this is probably the option you're going to go for. Whereas if you're investing in a particular stock, you might want to play around with the limit pricing. So once you do this, you place your order will be confirmed, you'll normally get an email confirmation, and therefore you now own that stock. Most brokers, it'll take 2 days for those funds before they're cleared, but congratulations, you've just done your first investment. And then the final thing, now you've made your first investment, now you need to know what records you need to keep. So like I said, you'll probably get an email with a PDF of a trade confirmation. I normally just save a copy of that somewhere. And then I personally actually use a site called ShareSite. So on their site, you can track all your trades that you've made, and this will produce all the reports you need at tax time. So as always, keep these records. It just will make your tax returns much easier. Have a look at a site like ShareSite, use a spreadsheet, etc. Just make your life easier. All right, so I hope after watching that, if you were considering investing, you've realized that it is easy to get into. The biggest thing is do your own research. Don't rely on anyone else. Don't rely on YouTube videos in particular. Don't rely on what you've read in the newspaper in particular. You've got to consolidate all the research that you've done and then make your decision. And then you've just got to decide, do you want to go for something that's a little bit higher risk and pick your own stocks, or you're going to go for a lower risk option like an ETF? And just remember that there is risk with share investing, but it can return great rewards for you. Okay, so I want to hear from you. What was your first investment? Was it a good one or was it a bad one? As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.